Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. It's JMA Friday. Today we're going to have a look at the month ahead from the Japanese model to see what's going on. Now, I asked last week for tips and suggestions on how I can flip around the Japanese models to show them on our side of the Northern Hemisphere, because I've been showing them upside down when I've been doing the JMA Friday updates, and very kindly I received lots of messages from you suggesting ways that I can flip around those charts, and I've managed to pull it off. So today, for the first time ever, we will be seeing the British Isles from our side of the Northern Hemisphere, rather than having to turn our heads around and see what it is showing. So it should all be much simpler to have a look at once we get through to those charts, and we'll have a look at those in a moment. Thanks very much to everybody for all those tips and suggestions on how I can do this. Much appreciated. As I say, I've managed to pull it off for the first time today. Now, before we get on with the month ahead update from the Japanese model, and then we'll have a look at the very big headache that is being caused to us weather forecasters for the latter part of December. Have a look at all the detail on that as well. Before I get on with all that, I just want to say about the ads. There's links to articles sitting underneath the weather video here on my homepage at jazzweathervids.com. Have a browse through the widget. If the articles that you're interested in, just click through. There's green keyword ads on most of the pages. If you roll your cursor over green keywords, they'll display ads. If you click through the word, you go to advertise website, you support jazzweathervids.com by doing that. There's yellow contextual ads, they're weather related, so click through those if there's anything that you're interested in. And Gav Shop remains open. I'll be keeping a list of Gav Shop until Christmas Eve, although I believe it's tomorrow, Saturday the 20th, but it's the last day that you can do your Christmas shopping on Amazon and guarantee that you get it for Christmas. I had an email about that earlier on, so I think if you do your Christmas shopping today and tomorrow, you can still just about guarantee you'll get your Christmas shopping they'll get Christmas shopping to you. Don't quote me on that. If you don't get Christmas shopping, don't blame me, but I believe you can do your Christmas shopping still today and tomorrow and get Christmas shopping from Amazon. Just click through the Amazon banners in Gav's shop. It'll take you off to Amazon. You do Christmas shopping at Amazon as normal. But at the same time, because you go from Gav's service to Amazon, we get a revenue fee on the things that you're purchasing. So I'll keep that link up until Christmas Eve and then take it down. Thanks so much to everybody who has done their Christmas shopping through the Amazon banner in Gav's shop. Been a huge success this year, so thanks so much to everybody for getting involved and doing that. Right, let's get on with the update, and here we go. The December central temperature, just when I start off with this, has gone a little bit above average. So despite all of the hype that we had a couple of weeks ago about how cold this December was going to be, I saw some headlines saying that it's going to be the coldest December since 2010, or sort of the cold would be on a par with the extraordinary cold that we had in December 2010. Despite all of that, it's actually gone a little bit above average. These provisional central temperature stands at 5.0. An anomaly are just 0.2 above average, 0.2 of a degree. That'll tick up a bit more when this updates, because it had a very mild adjustment. This is provisional to the 17th. If that was provisional to the 18th, it will tick up a little bit more. And I think overall the next few days are going to be fairly mild. We're having a cooler snap today and tomorrow, but as we get through to Sunday and start of next week, we'll have more mild days to come. So it's certainly not going to be a particularly cold December. Whether we finish up a little bit above or a little bit below average will depend on what happens in the final few days of the month, I suspect, but either way, I don't see a particularly unusual or cold December coming through, and certainly nothing like that very extraordinarily cold and snowy December that we had in 2010. Right, let's have a look at the Japanese model for the month ahead. It's JMA Friday, so we're going to have a look at the 500 millibar height anomalies for the next month. I don't have to tell you about the British Isles upside down, because as you look at this, we are looking at our side of the Northern Hemisphere. So the first 500 millibar height anomaly chart we're looking at is for the week that we're currently in, starting the 18th and going through to the 25th of December, going through to Christmas Day. And the anomaly for this week shows high pressure sitting to the southwest, low pressure up to the northeast, and the jet stream is coming through the country and around that trough, something like that. So overall, it's a relatively mild week, really. The flow is Atlantic based, fairly unsettled to the north, dry, generally quite dry down to the south, to be honest, and it's a pretty good representation of what we've got coming up over next week, really. I think I'm going to have up to about Christmas Eve anyway, fair bit of mild weather coming up, and the flow will be off the Atlantic. Now, as we move through into the second weekly period, this one takes us from the 25th of December to the 1st of January to New Year's Day, and this is the week that all the sort of twists and turns are being created over this final week of December. Will it go cold? Will it stay generally quite mild? This is what the Japanese model is seeing, that we get a ridge of high pressure through the central part of the Atlantic, so that high pressure pulls out into mid-Atlantic and does drift up a little bit towards Greenland. Doesn't become a proper Greenland high really on the basis of this, but does ridge up towards Greenland for a time. For a proper Greenland high, all of these red and yellow colours up here over the top of the would have to sort of push down into Greenland and connect up with this high pressure and set up a proper block somewhere over Greenland. It doesn't do that, but it is suggesting an Atlantic ridge going to the south of Greenland. And then we've got this trough sitting to the east of the country just there, with this below average height. So the consequence of that would be to pull winds generally into the north. So I think the JMA is seeing a colder week for that week from Christmas Day to New Year's Day. It's seeing that winds could go into the north, and bring some colder weather down across the country, and possibly some snow to the north and the east as well. But it's not a perfect scenario to lock in a cold pattern. So as we go through to the final 2 week period, this takes us from the 1st to the 15th of January 2015, we revert back to a westerly flow. Actually, we've got the trough of low pressure coming back here in the Atlantic. The flow is coming off the Atlantic through the British Isles, something like that. Now, we do have these yellow colours sitting up to the north and the northeast, so quite a bit of blocking actually up to the north and northeast, so we would have to keep an eye on that. If this trough was to push any further south, we would start to at least bring the risk of pushing in these easterly and northeasterly winds from all of this blocking sitting more or less over the top of the pole. So certainly we have to keep an eye on where that's going, but on the evidence of this, it's really the Atlantic that's driving through, but with the caveat that those yellow colours up there to the north, very interesting. It wouldn't take all that much to start to push them a little bit further towards us and bring us that cold weather, so we're going to have to see quite where that goes. The CFS for the coming month, this is the this is weekly 500 millibar height anomalies. The first week goes from the 18th through to the 24th, through to Christmas Eve. Again, blue low pressure, red is high pressure, same as what was looking at on the last chart really. So for the coming week, again we've got the low pressure to North Scotland, we've got all this yellow and red, and even going off towards sort of salmon pink type colours down to the southwest. So that's high pressure down to the southwest, low pressure up to the north. The flow came through the country like that with jet stream. Relatively mild, quite unsettled in the north. Excuse me, driest down to the south and the southeast. Go through to the next week period. Again, this is the one that's causing us all the headaches, trying to pin down what's going to happen, and it's a very similar scenario to the JMA. Look at this, we've got the ridge going through the central part of the Atlantic, going up towards the south of Greenland. Not a proper Greenland blocking high feature for that. Again, these red colours right over the top of the pole would have to push into this high pressure over Greenland, sort of set up a proper block. It doesn't do that, same as the JMA didn't, but it does pull off this ridge through the central part of the Atlantic. We get this trough out to the east of the country, so again the flow would be able to go generally northerly with this. So both the JMA and the CFS are seeing this chance of a much colder spell as we go through the Christmas week. From Christmas Day to New Year's Day, we have this chance of pulling down this cold northerly flow. It's unstable because we've got the trough to the northeast, so there would be potential for snow coming through with that. As we get through to the next weekly period, and this one takes us through the first week of January, the 1st to the 7th, the Atlantic starts to come back, similar to what we was looking at with the JMA. The trough is beginning to try and push back in, The ridge is going down towards the Azores. The flow is going something like that. But again, we have all of this red up to the north and the northeast, so the flow comes in and then probably goes up something like that. Quite a complicated pattern, but overall the Atlantic is trying to push back in, but this high pressure up to the northeast would be threatening at times to bring us easterly winds. So that could be sort of a battle scenario with westerlies trying to come in off the Atlantic, but cold weather very close to us to the east of the northeast, sort of battling it off for a while, and you could get snow with that actually, maybe quite significant snow if the air is cold enough up to the northeast. So that's quite an interesting one, what it's seeing there for the first week of January. We get through to the final week and then it takes us to the 8th to the 14th of January, so up to the middle of the month, and then we have the westerlies coming back properly. We're pushing this high pressure back, further back towards the top of the bowl, and we're bringing the low pressure in off the Atlantic, so the flow then is reverting to a proper westerly type flow. It's turning milder through the second week of January. So after that battle through the first week of January, we turn it milder into the second week and bring the westerlies back. But that's a couple of weeks from Christmas through to say the 8th of January. It's a couple of weeks of pretty cold weather being suggested there, I think, by the CFS V2 model. And certainly once we get through to that battleground scenario in the first week of January, there is a potential for some wintry conditions. So that's what the longer range models are saying. What about the shorter range models? Well, we've got a huge headache, as I said at the start of the video, about what's happening through that Christmas week. We're going to turn it cooler running up to Christmas, or just about over Christmas. As we run up to Christmas, actually it turns quite mild. The red line here on this GFS temperature ensemble is the 30-year average, so we go mild running up to Christmas. This is Christmas Day just here. We get this dropping temperature. I've explained this before in the other videos. We bring a cold front through on Christmas Eve. We drop the temperature for Christmas Day, not cold but cooler, with perhaps some wintry showers up in the north. But it's after that, after Christmas up to the New Year, January the 1st is just here, but we have all this uncertainty. We've got some members of the GFS ensemble that are really quite mild and balmy actually in some cases, wafting up very mild air from the southwest, but others are going very, very cold. There are several ensemble members here that are going down to -10 at 850 HPA in the upper atmosphere. That's really cold air. Wintry air would be enough certainly to produce snow if there's precipitation around. So loads of scatter there, almost getting on for a 20-degree temperature differential between the warmest and the coldest members. And I say that's for the post-Christmas period when we have this chance of northerly winds. Also, precipitation spikes are coming back from Christmas Day. Not a great deal of precipitation up to Christmas Day, but precipitation spikes come back. Some of these precipitation spikes, no doubt, associated with the mild push. Some, I'm sure, are associated with that colder push. So the potential there for snow or rain, depending on how the air mass actually evolves with this. So have a look at the very latest one of the GFS. This is the 6 o'clock, and this one turns it colder. We've got on Boxing Day this ridge of high pressure to the south of the country. This is the complicating factor. I explained this in the video yesterday. We've got to lower the heights to the south of us to allow this cold push to come down from the north. On Boxing Day, we're still ridging that high pressure through Spain and Portugal, through the central bar, bearing in towards France. So no cold can come down with that. It's sort of blocking it off up to the northeast. But we have got this ridge to the south of Greenland. Now, what the very latest run of the GFS does, 6 o'clock, is brings this low pressure through on the 27th, proper wet and windy day. Notice all this yellow around Greenland. That's the blocking feature developing to the south of Greenland. And yes, we lower the heights to the south. By the time we get through to Monday the 29th, day 10, we push through, whoosh, the northerly wind comes down across the country, and that brings the risk of snow showers to the north and the east. We've got a nice block there in the central part of the Atlantic. It doesn't really hook up to Greenland, so it's not a classic sort of locked-in cold pattern, but it's a nice ridge in the Atlantic. It will give us at least several days of cold conditions, but that northerly would be bringing down snow showers to northeast. And notice the heights have fallen to the south of the country, but this is completely different to what the midnight run of the GFS was showing. The midnight kept it very mild, and we never tapped into that cold air because the high pressure continued to the south, and the cold air was never able to come down. So from the midnight run to the 6 o'clock run, we've gone from a mild post-Christmas period to a cold post-Christmas period. The models are swinging about. They just haven't got a clue. Certainly the GFS hasn't got a clue quite where this is going. I don't think it really is on a knife edge whether we can turn it cold as we get through to the post-Christmas period. The parallel run of the GFS, remember we've got the two GFS models running alongside each other. The parallel will become the main run as we get through to January. That wants to bring down a very cold northerly flow as well as we go through the post-Christmas period. So again, we've got that ridge through the central Atlantic and a little bit more of a Greenland block perhaps, although still not quite a classic block, but we bring down that northerly by Monday the 29th. Again, that's unstable, would bring very cold air down and the risk of snow showers to the north and the east of the country as well. But again, that is in complete contrast with what we were seeing from the midnight parallel run of the GFS model. I hope you're bearing with me. As we go through to the GM, this is the Canadian model day 10 chart, 29th of December. And this is our problem really. It's got a nice area of high pressure to the south of Greenland, got a nice ridge there. We've got lots of cold air desperately trying to come down around these troughs of low pressure, but heights remain relatively high through most of central southern Europe, so that cold air really just can't get down. Although if we were to go on another 24 hours, we would probably open the floodgates to that northerly wind. But on the face of it, up to date, the GM keeps it generally quite mild really after a little cooler spell around Christmas Day. Keeps it generally quite mild because the heights don't really fall to the south. The ECMWF, this is for a week's time, Boxing Day. Again, we've got that ridge generally to the south of the country's centre, somewhere around the Bay of Biscay. Actually, quite a nice ridge there developing around the south of Greenland, so it wants to get into a cold pattern. Does this high pressure to the south of the country relent and let the cold air down? This is the 192 hour chart. This is for Saturday the 27th, bringing that low pressure through. Nice area of high pressure around Greenland, so again, tries to get itself into a cold pattern, but the high pressure over Spain, Portugal and France, the complicating factor, doesn't look like it wants to relent at that point, so that cold air is not being able to come south. We go through to the day 10 ECMWF chart, and that looks really good actually for cold. The high pressure through the central Atlantic, loads of cold air to the north and the east of the country, but again, similar to the GEM, the high pressure is still there generally through the central part of the Mediterranean. These areas of low pressure would be producing lots of heavy rain, possibly snow for Scotland. The cold air is just about getting into Scotland, but generally we're still in a mild flow here with these areas of high pressure, or the heights staying relatively high down through the Mediterranean. Again, similar to the GM, if we was to roll on another 24 hours, we could finally push these troughs of low pressure through and open the door to that northerly wind. But up to day 10, again, it's keeping it relatively mild away from Scotland, and the reason is because the heights are just not relenting down to the south. But to complicate things further, the ECM ensembles show that is a very mild outlier. The red line here on this chart for debuilt, these are the temperature ensembles for the next couple of weeks for debuilt. This is Christmas Day just here, so it's this period after that we're interested in for potential cold weather. This red line here shows that, well, the GFS operational run, which is this, was just about the mildest option within the ensembles. All these green lines are individual members of the ensemble. The operation was just about the mildest option, and we can see that indicated quite clearly from the red line as we go beyond Christmas, with the general trend actually through the ensemble down, and there are some very cold ensemble members mixed in. The ensemble mean for Saturday the 28th of December, so taking all of these individual lines and creating a chart, a mean flow chart from all of those members. The ensemble mean is this, really quite good for cold by Sunday the 28th of December, the low pressure to the east, high pressure ridge through the Atlantic, and that northerly coming right down across the country. Notice generally quite low heights through the Mediterranean. So it's still a very, very uncertain picture what's happening as we get through beyond Christmas up to the New Year. it's on a knife edge. We could pull off this cold weather, and we have potentially some very cold air to come down across the country between Christmas and New Year. It could happen. Don't rule it out by any means, but we just got to see more consistency really in model. Though the GFS has gone cold for the 6 o'clock run, it's totally different to what it's shown for the midnight run. The ensembles are split. The ECM operational is mild, but its ensembles are generally hinting, I think, quite a cold spell developing post-Christmas. So I'm undecided about this, but if I was to hedge my bets, I think we could pull this off. I think it is possible that we could get this cold spell after Christmas. If I was pushed to give you an answer, I suspect we are going to get some sort of a cold snap after Christmas. But quite how long it will last, how severe it will be, I just can't say. So it's all very, very interesting. Keep checking back for more updates. I'll probably do a Christmas update on the events page tonight. That'll probably be about the penultimate one. I may do one more on Sunday, but it's getting so close now that I think we'll give up on it after Sunday. But come back to the events page for tonight for a detailed look at Christmas Day, Box Day, and an attempt to see what's going to happen after that. Is for week ahead forecast tomorrow. Again, Matt will be dealing with the Christmas and post-Christmas period as well. So all very, very interesting. Hope you enjoyed the video. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.